Becoming a best-selling author might feel like an unattainable dream, but I'm here to tell you that it is only impossible if you don't try. Too many writers give up on their dreams of becoming an author or a best-selling author because they fear that they're not good enough or the publishing process just gets them down. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Whether you choose to traditionally publish or self-publish, publishing is a tough and sometimes grueling process. And becoming a best-selling author is just adding even more difficulty to something that is already a challenge. But I want you to remember that it is possible and it is something that is worth going after if you are passionate about it. I've worked with a number of best-selling authors when I worked in the editorial department at Penguin Random House. So today I wanted to give you my top insights from my experiences with them into how to become a best-selling author and what qualities and mindsets they have. I'm going to share all the insights I've learned and translate that into tactical tips that can help set you up for success as a best-selling author. If you're at all interested in book writing or publishing, I recommend subscribing to my channel. Every week, I offer either writing tips, particularly for novelists, or I talk about the publishing industry and process, and I would love to have you around. So let's dive into my first tip on how to become a best-selling author, which is read what is being published in your genre. Now, when you are spending all of your free time in your own book with your own characters, I totally understand how difficult it can be to carve out time to read on top of that. As a book editor who spends all day reading books for work, I totally understand the feeling of reading fatigue and the challenge to make time to read anything else on top of what I'm already doing. But this truly is a critical step if you are committed to becoming a best-selling author, because it is very important for you to know what's going on in the current book marketplace, because after all, that is the marketplace that you will become a bestseller in. Reading what is currently being published in your genre ultimately helps you understand your audience and your competition. So knowing what other authors are currently putting out there can help you get ideas and strategies for your own releases. For example, it can help you think about strategies for your cover design or even some themes that your next book might cover. Too often, I ask writers what they are considering their comparable titles for their work in progress, and the only titles that they name are canonical books that were published decades ago and were bestsellers back then. While it's totally fine if those were influences for your book, or even if they do have some similarities to your book, that's totally fine. However, because they don't reflect what is being published now, today, I do recommend still trying to find other comparable titles that are recently published. So do some research on Amazon or Goodreads, get a feel for what is being published in your genre. Bestseller lists are a great place for that. Goodreads also has the Goodreads Choice Awards every year for every single genre. So you can just look at, maybe the past 5 years and see what won the Goodreads Choice pick and start reading those. If you have a business as an author, then you can also expense those books and try to carve out some time in your day to read them. Whether that means reading on your commute or listening to an audiobook. Really do try to read more, because that's only going to make you a better writer at the end of the day. My next tip for becoming a best-selling writer is to lean into what you do well. Ask yourself, what is my greatest strength as an author? What makes me different from others that are writing in the same genre? Is it that you're able to craft unforgettable characters? Or maybe it's that you're able to come up with shocking twists that your readers never see coming. Whatever you do well as a writer is your writer superpower, and it is what sets you apart in the market and what makes readers come back to you time and time again. That is the hallmark of a best-selling writer. So identify and then lean into your personal writing superpower. Leverage it for each and every book that you write, because then it will become a through line throughout all of your works, and your readers will be able to identify that as your star quality. You see nearly every best-selling author do this. For example, Danielle Steele is known for her captivating characters and really moving romance plots. And John Grisham is known for bringing his legal expertise to the thriller genre. Now, it is totally okay if you don't know what your writing superpower is yet. It is something that you can absolutely develop and identify over time. You might also ask your beta readers or anyone who you have trusted with your work if they can identify what sets your writing apart. Also keep in mind that when I'm talking about using your writing superpower and leveraging that for every single book that you write, I am not saying that you have to be pinpointed down just to one genre. You do see with best-selling writers, they often do stick to a similar genre or a similar style of book, but I don't want you to feel limited in your career. Many cases they do branch out and do other types of books in totally different genres. However, whichever genre or genres you end up writing in, always bring it back to that writing superpower, because that's what's going to make you stand out and ultimately contribute to your best-selling status. My third tip for becoming a best-selling writer is to keep writing. It sounds basic, right? It sounds easy. It is neither of those two things. While you do see breakout best-selling authors, the vast majority of best-selling authors today have to work up to that best-selling status over the course of their career, which means putting in the time, putting in the words, putting in the energy, putting in the pages. Truly, when it comes down to it, becoming a best-selling author is not so much about this innate, God-given writing talent, so much as it is about putting in the work. Because that's where most people who want to be best-selling authors stop and where most of them fail. Consistency and perseverance are critical and the hallmarks of a serious professional writer. Remember, you ultimately cannot become a best-selling author if you stop writing. That said, all of this is so much easier said than done. What happens, for instance, if you put your time and energy and soul into a book that you love and then it doesn't sell as well as you expected to and you feel like your dreams are being crushed? That happens. Don't think of that book as a waste, even if it doesn't find the widest readership that you hope that it will initially. Because remember, readers that find your work even way later in your career will come back to your first books and they'll find a readership potentially then. So don't feel like it's game over for that book just because it didn't sell as well as you wanted. Try not to be let down by any perceived failings or any disappointments. Just keep writing. And remember that as long as you're writing, you are a writer. My next tip for becoming a best-selling author is to put yourself out there. If you poke around online for how to become a best-selling author, you're going to find a lot of people talking primarily about author platform and marketing strategies. While nailing your marketing and building an author platform are definitely important for getting your book into readers' hands, I'm not really going to focus on specific techniques or strategies in this video because the actual strategies that you should use will depend on a few things, including which publishing method you go down, as well as which bestseller list that you are actually targeting, because there are many different bestseller lists and they use different metrics. So I want to give you more broad and far-reaching advice, which is, in general, have the attitude of putting yourself out there as an author. That means not being afraid to publish, not being afraid of what your readers think, not being afraid to talk about your book openly, not being afraid of reviewers' feedback, and not being afraid to engage with your readers online or at events. It is not a requirement for you to have a specific follower count or be on specific social media platforms to become a best-selling author, but wherever you are, online or in person, you do need to be present and present yourself confidently as the author. My last tip for becoming a best-selling author is to trust your team. The truth is that making a best-selling book is not a solo act on the writer's part at all. It's far from it. It takes an entire village. This is something I've seen firsthand when I was working at Penguin Random House. If you are publishing traditionally, that would include the editor at the publishing house, your literary agent, the marketing team at the publishing house, the publicity team, the cover designers, the production editors, and countless other people involved in making your book. And if you self-publish, you have your own team. That would be the editors that you hire, the cover designers and formatters that you hire, the people who help you on whichever platform you end up publishing through. Best-selling authors, no matter how they publish, are not made in a vacuum. So do not feel that this is a feat that you have to or should tackle alone. So with that in mind, if a member of your team has an idea for tweaking the cover or maybe tweaking the description copy or even an idea for your next book, try to listen to them and have that collaborative attitude. If you, on the flip side, have an idea for doing an event that might reach a broader audience, that's something you should pursue as well. Remember, you all have the same goal of making each and every one of your books as strong a success as possible, because it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. So have that collaborative attitude, listen to ideas from your team, share your own ideas with them, and remember that when you do ultimately become a bestseller, it will be because of all the help from all of these special team members. I hope these tips help you feel more optimistic about your dream of becoming a best-selling author, and that it helps you learn what it takes to make this dream a reality. Let me know in the comments what book project you're working on, and if you've identified your writing superpower, I would love to know what that is. If you're looking for more tips from the perspective of someone who's worked with best-selling authors, I recommend checking out my video where I reveal the secret behind all best-selling novels. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It helps me know I'm bringing content that you are finding interesting and helps me grow this community. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.